A huge welcome. I am here today with Viv Guy, who is a current member of Amplify, to chat through her experience in the program, what she's achieved, and especially why Viv is so incredibly awesome. Thanks so much for your time today, Viv. Can you share with everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, I think I've got to say, I'm an original Amplify graduate, aren't I now? I think a graduate, but come to my end of my 9 months almost. Yes, I am Viv Guy, and I am a coach, mentor, strategist, and I help people to market their businesses and get consistent one-to-one clients without ever posting on social media. That's the big thing. Get you off the hamster wheel, start getting your business way more profitable in way less time, so you are not beholden to spending hours churning out content.
What I love about what you do, Viv, as well, is that so many people talk about this as a pain point, but they don't do anything about it. And you're somebody that lives and breathes like marketing off social media, and that all of your marketing is off social media. And we're going to chat a little bit later about, your success in growing your audience in 30 days, which is one of the challenges people do in Amplify. But you just smashed out of the water everybody, using organic social media growth for that, and give you a little hint, but Viv grew our audience by over 800 in 30 days using strategies entirely off social media. Awesome. So back when we started working together, pre-Amplify, do you remember what was going on for you and what was the motivation to jump into Amplify?
God, yeah. Do you know, I was thinking about this the other day. You sent me an email, which was awesome. I want to say it was like July or August, going, yeah, I just decided I want to simplify my business and I want to help you do the same. I was like that. And I think it was one of these reply with the word simple or something. I was like, simple, how I want this, because I'd realized I was going down the rabbit hole of thinking about creating all sorts of different things. And I was like, this, and my whole philosophy is, 20-hour weeks, 20-hour a week working week is all I do, 40 weeks of the year. So I take 12 weeks off. And I could feel myself, with the one-to-one client work I was doing, like thinking memberships and should I do this? And I kept coming back to this membership, but I was never loving the idea. I was like, oh, and yeah. So I was kind of going, oh, this feels like it's getting complex. And you sent an email saying, I've really simplified my business from all of these things. And I was like, I don't want to go that way, that Gemma's kind of just coming out the other side. And I could feel myself going down that path of create all these offers and have all this money, but being exhausted and burnt out. So yeah, so I had one-to-one clients, and I was kind of thinking, what is this next step to be able to grow my business? And I only work 20 hours a week. And I was like, I'm kind of going to be at capacity really soon. I was at I think I was at 8% capacity with one-to-one clients when we originally spoke. And I was like, what's the next move? And actually, it would be great to work less hours than 20 hours a week, if possible. So yes, is there a way I can scale back? So that's where I was at, I think, when we originally spoke. And thinking, is there a better way to kind of run my business? But it was the simple thing that absolutely sort of screamed at me.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think a lot of people like the path I went down and that you were about to go into this, well, I need more offers thing, I need a membership, I need a course, I need all these passive things, and very, very quickly it becomes complicated. And so I remember that email I sent as well, because it was from the heart of what I had spent all this time breaking down and rebuilding my business. And there's basically a whole group of people that listen to that and go, yeah, oh my gosh, is there a simple business model with one offer that would just mean I serve really deeply, or maybe have some one-on-one as well, that allows me to scale?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you came into Amplify with the goal of setting up a group program to keep your business model very, very simple, allow you to work these 20 hours a week. So when you think about your journey through Amplify, what are the steps? Because I hope that was a happy laugh. Look, we're going to come to that, what was perhaps in that sigh there in a second. What are the steps that you've taken over the past 9 months or so in order to really scale your business simply?
Okay, so it happened a lot faster than I thought. So we started Amplify, and I didn't expect to be starting a group program so quickly, but I had quite a lot of leads in my appointments in my calendar. within a few weeks, I think we literally had half-term break in October, and we'd not started much before that. We'd probably had four weeks of maybe 5. And I was like, oh, it feels like a no-brainer, like to sell these people onto one-to-one when I've got this opportunity to go group. So I just went, I'm going to do these groups. It's just, and at that time, it was like this big idea. And I had not really broken it all down. I was like, these are the kind of key things. I'd done the model. I'd done some of the steps that Gemma took us through to kind of describe it and talk through it. But it wasn't like, it was in my brain, it was a very different program to what it actually became. So we sold that. So I started it really quickly and sold, I think I made 12K in sales in like, on that first launch.
I remember the message you sent me in Slack, and you were just like, I've just had my first 10K month in my business, and we've been working together like a few weeks because you just taken this idea, taken it to your audience, and enrolled the first people in it.
Yeah, which was awesome. So I did that, and then got into the laugh was because obviously content creation has been really hard for me. It's not a natural strength for me. And it's really interesting when I speak to some of my clients, who aren't necessarily creating courses, but, just this whole thing of just wanting to tell people all the information and kind of just leave them to get on with it. And obviously the way that Gemma sort of teaches you how to teach and get results is different, but so much more effective. And that was like something I really had to get my head around. So getting into like writing the program was obviously my next step once I'd sold it. So obviously put it out there, sold it, launched a podcast in the same week. It was a little bit too much overload there. So launched a #1 podcast in that same week as launching and starting the delivery of the curriculum for my group program. So that was like the first big sort of milestone.
And can I touch on that for a second? Because I think like that content struggle you had, like that's a very real struggle, right? When you're writing a program, and sometimes people don't think about, like, obviously we've got what we've got in our head, and then often people just think it's about taking that knowledge and whacking it in a presentation and giving it to people, which is literally the most ineffective learning strategy in the world. So when you actually kind of submerge yourself in what would an effective strategy be, and how can we get people to progress and learn and implement and take action, then, and you have awareness of like what a good strategy looks like, it's a commitment, isn't it, to create that content and get it out for your program.
Yeah, hugely, and it was interesting because when I did like masterclasses and workshops for like as a guest speaker in groups, I would always try and do it as a workshop interactive, so people came away with a tangible thing at the end of it. So that was really good. I kind of had to lean back into that and go, come on, this is the way you like to do things and deliver. But obviously it was putting a little bit more structure. And it was interesting when you sort of touch on that as well, because so many other programs that I've been on or courses, well, they do call themselves programs, are very much like there's the PowerPoint or Canva slide with literally just like a list of things, and they just talk at you, and there is no implementation on that, like as part of that.
Or it's on like the last slide, and it's like, so go away and do this, and you're like,
go away and do that for the next
oh, okay, I'll just go away and do that massive task on my own.
Yeah, and I did a kind of a couple of years ago, when I was in a different business, but did a whole program on how to kind of take an offer to many people, like group offer, and that it's things like go and build your audience, but no how-tos, which is why I'm so passionate, with the podcast. It's all very how-to based, because I freaking hate it when people don't share the how-tos, and I'm like, I've paid a lot of money for this. Yeah. Walk me through it, because this is a block. I ain't progressing, and I didn't get that result, which is why I wanted to work with you, because I knew how you taught in the end. It's like it's a block. What is the bottleneck? Well, that was the bottleneck, and I've spoken to so many people who've hit the same bottleneck, which was I couldn't grow my audience, so I couldn't get to the end result of running a group program. That's totally off topic. Sorry, but yeah, that was like a big part of it for me, was how do I actually teach? How do I do this? And how do I achieve each of these steps?
Yes.
And the not launching thing was the biggie for me, because I hate launching. It's something I didn't want to do. I just find I just can't sustain my energy through launches. I just don't like them, and it just never fit for me around kids and family and things, kind of showing up, and I just got in my head about I didn't want to do launches. So that was the other big thing as well for me about kind of joining you. I've gone back to question 1. but sorry, it just came to mind. So after I launched, started writing the modules, obviously then alongside that, you're trying to learn and work your way through the Amplify modules. And suddenly you're kind of on this whole, oh my gosh, time's really tight. I'm writing because, Gemma knows all too well, it was taking me a good 2 days a week to write and record my modules. And kind of going back now, I'd have definitely done them live because there's so many things I would change like second time around. But it took me a long time. So that was, then client work on top of that, only working 4 days a week in school hours. It was just a really big challenge for me. And then trying to fit in the Amplify modules as well. So I would often listen to them while out and about, and then come back and know like where I needed to go dive into to work through the workbooks as I went along. So I'd kind of got the information, and then I needed to kind of implement the actions. So that felt, and that's where it suddenly, you kind of think, well, there's not modules to cover all these months, but I'm at 9 months and there's still a couple of things I could go back and spend more time on. Because you're running a business at the same time, so you're not just committing 24/7 to doing the modules.
And this is why when people say to me, I'm just going to create a course, and like they say it really flippantly, like turning the genius into your head into a program where people actually get results is like a super easy thing, and you just have to teach your thing and give it to people. And it's not about that. Like the holistic picture of like turn your genius into a program where people get results at the same time whilst maintaining all of your marketing and sales and enrolling clients into it. And this is like why Amplify exists, right? Because when people are like, well, I'm just going to do it on my own, I'm like, well, it's hard. It's hard to take all of these steps. This is a container where we help you take those steps and make that hell of a lot easier for you. And like one of the things, so I feel like, as with any entrepreneurial journey, right, you have these like massive highs, like just scored my first 10K month. Then you have the lows, like, oh my God, like creating content is taking me a lot longer than I thought. And then you had a period where you took your foot off your lead flow because you felt so busy with everything.
Yeah, my dry spell, as we call it. And this was not off the alcohol dry spell. There was probably copious amounts of alcohol at the end of the day to try and unwind my brain. But yeah, I took my foot off the gas because I was like, I can't do it all. And to me, I was like, these people have paid me, so I must serve them first. And so I took my foot off the gas. I didn't sell. I didn't even try and sell because I was like, and I was afraid to sell because I was like, I need to get results to sell more people into it. So I have to kind of prove this works, even though Jen was telling us the opposite, just sell. To me, I was like that. I need to wait 6 months almost or whatever to get some really big kind of case studies. And this was again getting in my head about it. But I took my foot off the gas because I got so busy in content creation mode, and I, then I had the result was no calls, like empty diary. Wasn't selling anyone else onto the program. So I went through a really dry spell, and that becomes really hard then because you think, well, people bought into it and now nobody wants it. But it's not that. It's actually that I just stopped taking the
right? Yeah. So like a lot of people go through this kind of like this roller coaster income and these periods where they take their foot off. And like the big mistake I see a lot of people take is they think, I'll just go create this entire program over here. Yeah. Then I'll come and sell it. And they think that will be easy as well. So how do you come back from like a challenge like that? Because your response was pretty epic. I've got it written on the post-it note in front of me. Viv came back from her dry spell and made 26.5K in 21 days. So how do you come back from that mindset-wise and strategically and just crush it?
Mindset-wise, I'm just going to say like the Amplify Slack community is the place to be because it's such a supportive place. And I felt like, and I think I said to Gemma, and I know I said to a couple of other people in there, I feel like I'm a stuck record because I felt like I was coming back with this. I just felt really blocked. I was like, that the time is a real issue. And I've always been really good at managing my time. And I just, yeah. And I think for me, it was just, I was just using a shit excuse really, because maybe I just didn't want to do the lead gen. I think there was a part of me that had this belief that I couldn't sell this program. And so therefore just I stopped everything, lead gen, conversion activities. So yeah, I think I got to February half term. We'd been through a rotten January, February anyway, which hadn't helped with COVID and things. And I remember it was just getting to February half term, and I thought, I'm just going to do some reach out to some partners and collaborations. And like people got back to me and said yes. And so I did some bundles and some collabs. I didn't realize they were all happening in the same month. Big mistake. Always check your dates. And so I kind of said, I'm going to do the 100 leads in 30 days challenge that Gemma set. And so I went all in and grew my audience by over 190 people in 30 days. And that was like the big comeback for me, kind of starting to do more lead gen activities again and get like just kind of realize I need to be doing this to fill my diary. But then I was back into the juggle of course creation. And I have to say, what happened is I got slower with delivering my modules to my clients, but actually it was okay because I'd got some of the crucial modules out that are kind of regular ongoing activities for them anyway. So they weren't kind of stalled waiting for me. And that was a really big thing. And as I said with Amplify, you know, Gemma could still be writing it now and it would be fine because there's there is always more to come. And I think that was like a relief for me. And actually I took the pressure off myself at having to deliver, like, because I dropped to one a fortnight and I think it became like one every 3 or 4 weeks because I knew I needed to get focused on lead gen again. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I teach my clients, you know? And yet I'd got myself in this pickle, really, in this dry spell. So that was the biggie. And then kind of showing up, staying visible. I got then kind of sold 26.5K in 21 days without any launches, because people are probably like, she did a big launch. No freaking launches at all. Like totally. And I have to say, I think it was on the back of my workshop, which I still have to do my data in next week, in the diary for review. But yeah, I think the deep nurture workshop, which I procrastinated over for 4 months.
Yeah, I remember.
Did that, and that was a big trigger, I think, because it was an opportunity for people to go really deep with me. And I think for me, that was like the final tipping point that really helped with those sales.
And I'd love you to share with everyone just like how you feel about the evergreen format. One being to say in an evergreen program itself, but two, like why you've chosen to run your program evergreen and what that means for you and your business and the way you want to enroll and all of that piece.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the reason I want to do evergreen is it fits my lifestyle. It fits the 20 hours a week. It's got routine and structure. So it's kind of rinse and repeat activities. So I can kind of schedule it in. I don't have to suddenly go, right now I've got to farm the kids out for a week while I do a launch and get like childcare and meal prep and all of that stuff and not think about anything, you know, for a week. I know I can bring in consistent income. You know, versus this idea of I'm going to do this big launch and the anxiety around that. Am I going to make enough? Well, I just didn't want to go there. So for me, it was for me, it's my mindset. It just fits my business model. Regular, consistent income. Just no pressure. It's just, you know, really structuring your model in a way that sells without it being icky. It's, you know, it's really hard to, it's so easy really when you get it in place, but obviously there've been a lot of tweaks to get to that place, you know, and I am now like the world's biggest advocate for micro tweaks, which Gemma introduced me to, I think, the term micro tweaks, because they were fundamental and instrumental in getting me the results I've got in my business. Because, you know, a lot of people out there are probably doing some of these things, but actually what are the small changes you can make, you know, that are going to have big impacts as well, big impact. And I think that's been one of the big transformational things for me as well.
Yeah, and I really see that in your journey as well, as like, because you're a real detail orientated person like me. So you want a process, you want to know the exact words, the exact thing to put in. Whereas some other people,
can't it as well?
Exactly. So like you'll come and you'll be like, well, I'm wasting my time on calls with these people that aren't qualified. And like, so like often people sit in that space for years. And then we talk about the micro tweet, you go change it. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, I'm getting the right people on the call. Now, some people aren't showing up to the call. Right. okay, need to do some micro tweaks. How are we going to change that? And I just remember you coming into Slack and just being like, I freaking love micro tweaks. Like it's all shifting. Like it's all coming together, all the tiny improvements just to get it working smoothly.
Yeah. Such benefit, because and like say, how many people have we both worked with, like, you know, in coaching, like marketing, and who throw in the towel and change tactics entirely because they go, it just doesn't work. And actually, you know, it does work. It just, you know, it can work. You just need to make little tweaks along the way.
Totally. So you've got a monthly workshop, or we're working towards you having a monthly workshop. You've got your group program up and running with the messaging that lights you up. Implemented 15-minute game plan calls ahead of your sales calls to further qualify.
Those really early on, yeah. And I've not had problems keeping to 30 minutes, 15 minutes on those. I know a lot of people like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Yeah, they're cool. I love them.
Awesome. So how would you describe your experience of working together?
Like, just life-changing, because it's, for me, the way you teach kind of how we want to structure, you know, our weeks, our months to kind of bring in consistent leads and clients and to deliver a program, you know, all of that is like so transformational, because it means I've now got a scalable business. I've got a program that's now written. So, you know, I'm not having to do all of that alongside, although interestingly, you do end up wanting to add more and more bits as you kind of make improvements to your own business. You know, but I've also been able to apply so much of that to my one-to-one stuff as well, you know, and the way I market and sell and do things in my one-to-one business. So that's been like transformational. You know, it sounds like I'm ass kissing, but, you know, I always say, like, Gemma is like a phenomenal teacher, and I know ask anyone in like the Slack community on Amplify and in Gemma's world, you know, she's phenomenal at what she does. You know, her maven brain, which I'm so jealous of, really, maven archetype, she's just so good at teaching, and it makes it so easy and so clear, and the support that's there between sessions, you know, between modules, and that is just invaluable. I mean, I am literally on there all the time asking questions, because I'm that detailed person that wants answers to everything, the whys and wherefores. But that has been invaluable, and obviously it's got me to where I need to get to. So it's transformational, it's life-changing, you know, and look at the kind of figures I'm making. And I said to Gemma, I want 26.5k months now every month, and that's the goal, and I will be continuing with Gemma, because our work is definitely not done yet. Yeah, it's fantastic.
There's more to do. There's more to do, isn't there?
Do it, guys. Just do it. If anyone's in doubt, you know. But again, kind of going eyes wide open. If, you know, you're going to need to make sure you get the balance. And I know we talk about this with people that have come in, like, who are sort of newer to the group. Like, when they're like, oh, I'm struggling with leads and balancing it all. It's like, don't drop the balls. You know, you've got to kind of find the way to keep them all there, because they're all integral to your success at being able to continually sell while you're on this program.
Yeah, I love that. Well, one, I love your journey because it's a really good example of how it's not just like this straight line up, right? There are huge dips and stuff to overcome. But when you just move through it, you do overcome it. And so many people, like you say, give up. And then that second piece you said is you can't drop the balls. And like, you know, Amplifies, for those that aren't playing at this shit, like, they're willing to do the work, learn the balls and not drop the balls. And you have to make time for it, right? You can't be like, oh, I'm just going to take a couple of months off lead generation and sales if you want clients every month. So it's really learning how to step up as a business owner, right? And hold all the balls, or outsource to your team to hold all the balls, so you're not dropping them. So what would you say is your biggest takeaway from the last 9 months?
Oh, biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway from personal takeaway is I am way more capable than I thought at writing programs, because I was like, I suck at this. And I remember the first couple of modules, I was like, I just can't write. And now I'm like, I think I messaged last week going, I just knocked out a module in like an hour. I just did it. And yeah, I think it's the confidence. But my other big takeaway is it can be really simple. It doesn't. I think there'd always been that perception and belief. If I went to group, it was going to have to be launches, and may have held me back before. On going that route. So I think my big takeaway there is, I don't know what that takeaway was, but the big one is, I'm going to have to say it's micro tweaks.
Micro tweaks, 100%. I love that. Also, the type of stuff we geek out in Slack, which is our community, by the way, if people are wondering, like, what's Slack? Is like, we literally high five each other if you manage to record a module in less than a day. You're like, yes, nailed it, recorded a module in less than a day.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's big, yeah.
What are you looking forward to next?
Well, 26.5K plus months every month, next goal, isn't it? And it's feeling confident that I can achieve that now. And that's crazy, because obviously when I came to you, I was like that, I want to kind of get to 7 or 8K consistent months. It was that consistent sort of 8K. And obviously, you kind of talk about 10K. Now I'm like that. 10K? I want more than that now every month. I've done it. I've done this a few times. Let's do more of this.
Awesome. So who would you recommend Amplify to?
Action takers. You can't be whiners, kind of
repeat.
Moaners.
If you're watching this and you're a whiner, fuck off.
Not for you. Whiners, moaners, kind of. I think if you're the person that thinks if I just talk everything through, it's going to make it happen for me, that's not the case. Of course, the support is there to talk it through. And as I said, I probably ask more questions. I'm sure if Gemma did an audit of Slack, I would be the one that asked the most questions. I always say I'm high maintenance. However, that support is there, and it's not asking questions in a whiny way. It's like, I just want to take an action and I'm not sure how to do it, maybe. So yeah, you've got to be willing to go for it. Go all in. Like, don't just think, I'd like a group program, but I'm going to have a group program and I'm going to have it in the next 6 to 9 months, and it's going to be the core of my business. I think there's a lot of people think, well, it'd be a nice to have alongside my one-to-ones, but you may need to make room for it, which means you might need to scale back on the one-to-ones for a time to fit this in. And that's the reality. So before you kind of say yes, be aware that there may be some compromise that needs to be made, certainly while you're creating the content aspect.
Yeah.
So action takers, non-whiners, sort of moaners, people who are just really willing to go for it. And I would say people who are willing to go for it now, because God, you can, if you don't, you're going to be at it for months. And I was like that. End of May, I want it done. I don't want to have this like dragging out, trying to create content and trying to work my way through this for months and months, a year, because you want to actually start living this newer life, this life where you've got more time, more money. So let's just speed it up and get there.
It's the 26K a month life. What I love about what you just said is, like, in order to scale, you can't just, if you're already at capacity and you're thinking you're just going to add something, something's got to give, right? You've got to either reduce your one-on-one, or you've got to be prepared to put in more work, because there's no way you're getting a successful group program off the ground that delivers incredible results unless you're willing to put in the time. So I love everything you said about that. Viv, thanks so much for chatting with me today. It was so great to hear your story and share it with everyone. If you're watching this and thinking, I want to be your next case study, I want to be chatting about my rollercoaster journey to 26K months and beyond, just scroll on down to the bottom of the page. Let's hop on a call and discuss if now is the right time for you to start and grow your group program without exhausting high pressure launches. Thanks very much.
Do it, guys. Do it.